Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Skagit Storytellers. My episode today is Jeff Spradlin, and he is a member of Lazy Acres. And I love this episode because I wasn't really planning on recording with Jeff, but I met him at the radio station when he came to do my radio show with Wes. And we hit it off immediately, and I said, hey, do you want to record a podcast? And he said, sure. So there's a lot of really great local music history in this episode, as well as just some overall funny stories, and I hope you guys enjoy it. There are a lot of shows coming up. I mentioned them earlier, I think last week. There's basically like 3 or 4 shows, I think, each weekend. December 1st and 2nd, there's a few shows. December 1st, the Friday, Old Timers is going to have the Dimes, so rockabilly band with Ken, Rick, and Sonny. They are going to be at Old Timers. And then that same night, though, Lazy Acres, that Jeff is in, Lazy Acres is going to be playing at the Blue Room in Bellingham. The Saturday, December 2nd, the Wes Jones Trio is going to be playing in Lyman. And the Cascade Cody and the Unpulled Bootstraps are going to be playing at Rockport that night. So 4 really great acts that weekend.
Remember I told you my old Martin guitar had basically had to have the neck reset, basically like the equivalent of open heart surgery for a guitar. Walker's the one that did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how long has he been doing it for everyone?
I don't know how long he's been a luthier. He can do violins, basically any wooden instrument, but I don't know how long he's been doing it for, but I know that, I've only known him for a few years, but Jeff and Justin, the Spradlins, they've known him I think Justin's known him for the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really talented.
Well, and does he just fix guitars or he builds them?
He's built them too.
Okay.
But he's not known for building guitars. His thing mainly is
he just fixes them.
Fixes them. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
He's also a really talented singer and songwriter.
I just saw that reel that you posted.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's good.
Yeah, yeah. And was he? I feel like he was in a band before.
He's in
County Rose.
Yep. And then he's in Sweetwood with
oh, I didn't know that.
Ireland and fucking
Andrew.
Yeah. And then he's also in Big Me Seattle, which is the premier Foo Fighters cover group for the area.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
They would be fun.
They're pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. You guys have a show on Friday.
We do. We
at
have
the
a show
Blue
in
Moon.
Bellingham. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're playing the
Blue Room. Sorry.
Blue Room. That's the one. Did I say Blue Moon?
I said Blue Moon.
Oh, yeah, we're doing the Blue Room with
Feral
Moon and Moon Mother.
Yes, that's why we call it the Blue Moon, because there's lots of
I feel like we just need to cover Bad Moon Rising or something to meet the lunar expectations of everybody that we're playing with. But yeah, we're playing up there. That's always been that we love the Blue Room.
Yeah.
It's so opposite of all the other Bellingham venues.
Jeff shared a story of playing at, was it the Shakedown?
I've played Shakedown.
Or maybe Wild Buffalo.
We played both.
One of the first shows. You guys opened for someone who was kind of big?
Bubba Sparks?
Yes.
Yeah, Bubba Sparks was big. Yeah.
And Jeff's like, all right, this is the beginning of my musical career. And
that's what we thought.
We were joking because we're like, you peaked. That was the peak. So speaking of emotional, the only reason why I brought you on to do Jeff's intro is it's a very special day today.
It is.
It's your son's first birthday.
It is Sonny's first birthday. He had cake tonight. I went through, me and Carly sat on the couch for 2 hours last night, going through all the videos of him when he was a newborn. It was just, she's looking, she's laughing and stuff, and then she looks at me and I'm just like,
you're just a mess.
Oh, dude, I don't know why I just started, the waterworks just turned on and I was sad. I was happy, but it's sad.
Is the first year what you thought it would be? Were there so many new things you had no idea you would think or feel or?
Yeah. I the whole thing was just it was so hard in a lot of ways I expected it not to be. And it was so easy in ways that I expected it to be hard. I thought diapers would be a thing. And they're not.
What do you mean?
Like, I just thought, like, I would have a hard time changing poopy diapers and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, a week, you do, like, what's the first one's called? The meconium. Like, when they first come, like, you do a couple of those, there's nothing like that. You're over it. And then there's other parts that just, like, just learning to, I think the journey of parenthood is what is hardest and it's most rewarding out of the first year. But he's such a good kid, and he's doing, like, he's just kicking ass. And today was just that, like, he got like a bike that he could sit on and walk around on, and it was just like, oh shit, like you're walking around.
Where's my baby?
Yeah, and I know it just gets worse and better from there.
Well, and because you wrote December 15th for him. Have you written any other songs?
I haven't
some
finished
in the works?
any.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, they're all kind of like, I'm trying to stray away from, like, the songs about a child growing up for some reason. But, like, I always sing to myself. I'm always just like, please stop growing. And, like, because every time it's something new, and he changes so much day to day.
All right, so besides Lazy Acres playing Friday, you're also playing Saturday.
Playing Saturday at Lyman Tavern.
With Charlie
and Carly, the trio.
Yeah, the trio.
And then on the 9th, we are going to have the first, we have a rhythm section.
Yeah.
So the trio has been working with the rhythm section primarily for bigger shows, but we wanted to kind of test it out and see how it would sound on a smaller show. And so Rick and Phil both decided that they were willing to jump on the show at Barley and Brew on the 9th.
And that's Rick from the Dimes.
Rick from the Dimes.
And Phil from Corey Vincent.
Yep, from the Corey Vincent's Electric Band.
That's awesome.
And then, so it's going to be Jack's going to be kicking off the night. Solo acoustic, maybe. Yeah. Andy Brown will probably show up with a cajon or something.
He'll bring a bunch of friends.
Yeah, and then Cascade guys. Cody in the Unpulled Bootstraps second. Yeah. And then we're going to be closing off the night.
Now, is he just going to have his 3?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because his is also expanding too.
He is. Yeah. Yes. I told him. He's like, he told me he was happy with just an acoustic. I was like, you just wait, dude. You find a group of guys, or a group of folks, start playing with them, and you get chemistry, and then it only builds. Lazy Acres started with me and Jeff.
Really?
Yeah. There's. I was just seeing it today. 6 years ago on. Might have been 7 years ago actually. 2017. Yeah. On Facebook, our Facebook memories was playing at Local 20, Barley and Brew. Yeah, and it was just me and him.
Yeah, and I love Cody's music, like Pony Expressions. Oh, geez.
So good.
But then you hear it with people behind him. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was missing anything, and it's not on its own. But then you have that; it's a completely, almost different song.
It is.
Oh, it's so good.
You get addicted to it too, right? When you get a little bit like you. I was actually wrong. That was me and Charlie in that video. But okay. I know that me and Jeff had played there a lot. Yeah. Anyways, start off with me and Jeff, though. But you get that. You're like, okay, I have a guy playing guitar with me now. And then pretty soon you're like, man, there's people that are like getting up and dancing. But you got to have something to make them move. And that's where the rhythm section comes in.
Any parting words about Jeff before I start his episode?
This has been the intro?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Jeff is one of the most selfless, best friends that a guy could ever ask for. He is the one person, with obviously the exception of Carly, that I know without fault, if I needed him, regardless if he'd want to do it or not, would be there.
Yeah.
And I would do the same for him. And he's the best friend a guy could ask for. He's a fantastic bandmate, and he's as good as a guy gets. And that's probably the lamest thing I've ever said. He's probably going to hear that and cringe. But you know what, dude? Whatever, Jeff, I love you. And I'm looking forward to this episode. And so
he tells a lot of great stories about people.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
It's awesome.
I'm sure he has some killers of us. So that'll be awesome to hear. Can't wait.
Well, he ended on the Ritzville. Is it Ritzville?
Oh, is he talking about our
Is
friend?
that how you pronounce it?
Our friend that we were, the rescue mission?
Yeah.
The failed rescue mission?
He ended on that story.
Yes. Oh, he got some bangers in there then. Yeah. Right on. Okay,
sweet.
killer.
So people can see you
December 1st at the Blue Room.
Blue Room.
And then we are also doing New Year's Eve with Eden at the Lincoln Theater.
What?
Yes, it is.
Was that just decided?
It was just the contracts were just signed. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, that'll be New Year's Eve, and there's a ticket link on the Lincoln Theater's website. Tickets range from like $20 to $32.
Yeah.
And it's going to be earlier though. It's going to be over because
I was just going to ask if it's going to go to midnight.
No, not at the Lincoln. They're going to be all wrapped up by 10 or 10:30.
That's nice.
Yeah.
People can head out to a bar after.
Yeah, that is going to be after. We're going to push the Blue Room show the Blue Room till Friday, and then after the Blue Room, it's full steam ahead. We're going to.
And it's Lazy Acres.
It's Lazy Acres.
Got it. Yeah.
Lazy Acres is going to open up for Eden. Finally, we're going to play a show with Eden.
Nice.
We're really excited.
Has it been a long time coming?
Me and Savannah are always like,
Yeah.
hey, when are we going to do a show? When are we going to do a show? When are we going to do a show?
Well, it's
You
hard
got
when
this
you're-
date. No, you got this date.
I was
No.
going to say,
Yeah.
how do you... Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to line
When
up
you got
shows.
two bands that book out the whole year by February and March, it's pretty hard to weasel
Yeah.
stuff in there.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Heard here first.
Heard it here first. All right.
Breaking news. And this will come out Wednesday morning. So, yeah, make sure you buy your tickets before they're sold out.
Yeah, it's probably going to sell out too. It's
Okay.
going to be it's going to be the place to be on New Year's Eve, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's still plenty of time to go to your favorite local dive bar and ring in the new year.
There's
Or-
probably another local show from 10 o'clock till midnight.
I
or 1.
guarantee you there is. I actually know of one. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, why don't you guys just move down the street to
That's-
like the town pump or something?
That's an acoustic after party at District Brewing.
Oh, really?
Yep. District Brewing's going to open back up at 10:30 and ring it in till everybody's
that's
done playing.
awesome.
I'm not going to be there. I'm going to hightail it home
Yeah.
and spend the New Year's in my little house with my wife and child. But
Aw.
I mean, with my wife, so he's going to be sleeping. But, yeah. Anyways,
Sweet.
get to Jeff's episode.
All right. Thanks, Wes.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
That was killer. I didn't realize I thought we were just bullshitting there.
No.
No.
Howdy, partner. Welcome to one of the most northern parts of the United States of America. Travel with me upriver as we talk to a bunch of ladies and fellers and they share their tales of wit and wisdom. That's right, it's time again for Skagit Storytellers with Liz Rankin.
How often has it been over the last 6 weeks where, someone's like, can I help you with that?
Oh, all the time.
Is it just like your pride? You're like, no.
No.
You're like
At
a
this
toddler.
point-
You're like, I got it. Like
That
you're
is
a kid,
exactly how my
right?
toddler
Yeah.
acts. He tells me no if I try to help or fix anything, and he says no, me fix.
And then you have to stand there for 5 minutes.
Watching him try.
While you could do it in 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're
I
becoming
am
a
the toddler. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, recently I've actually been able to leave it off for most of the day.
Yeah.
But if I go anywhere, I put it on. So
Is the doctor recommending that you move it more?
yeah,
or-
so I go to physical therapy. I actually had a massage yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And then just to try to loosen some things up because I've got some restricted motion here,
Yeah.
which is not good for guitar playing hands.
Oh, yeah.
So
And you have your show in, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
Yeah.
I played for about an hour yesterday, and I
cool.
played for probably 30 minutes today.
Oh, okay.
So I could do it, which sucks because I like jumping around and having fun, but
yeah.
that's okay. I think I can make it through one show of just sitting.
Is this the longest you've gone without playing
Yeah, I mean,
since you started?
because it probably took me at least 4 weeks before I even picked up, to legitimately try to play. It was a week, and I picked up a bass guitar just because it was the only one not hanging on a wall. And I was like, okay, can I still kind of pick some things and move my fingers enough to make this happen?
Yeah.
And it worked, so I just did it for a minute and then put it down. And then, about 2 weeks ago, I'd say I plugged in an electric guitar and kind of got some things going and
Yeah.
tried to play as much as I can. So
Wait, was it because of playing that you had
No.
to have surgery?
No. I dislocated it the first time when I was 18, snowboarding. Didn't think it was a big deal. Went back up a week later and then dislocated it really badly. And then from that moment on, I have continued to dislocate it randomly throughout the last 12 years.
Yeah.
So it would I got out of bed wrong one time, tried to support myself with my elbow, and it just slipped out. Yeah.
And you just put it back in?
Yeah.
Oh.
So my brother, who's a massage
Justin, right?
therapist, Justin, yeah. So he's a licensed massage therapist, so he kind of knows some things, he gave me the massage yesterday, actually.
Oh, okay.
But you put your hands up above your head and just take a deep breath, and it kind of just sets back in versus having to slam it back into something, which is what I was trying to do for years.
So then why do you need surgery?
Because it just dislocates so easy. Like, it's like I
Okay.
yawned and like stretched kind of like this and it popped out. Yeah, it's a real thing that happens.
That's
And
funny.
so just like living in fear of constantly like it could pop out at any moment kind of thing.
Yeah, I was thinking if you're holding your kid or
Mm-hmm.
driving and
I've been on like a hike and like leaned myself up against a tree to like stretch my leg out and it popped out while I was like 2 miles from trailhead. And I'm like, well, what do? You know, it's not like I'm going to turn around. So
yeah.
it is what it is.
Okay, so I always like to start these podcasts with talking about how we met. I'm sure I met you at a couple shows or something, but
I feel like we've been around the same group.
yeah,
Obviously.
but I kind of sort of for the first time met you like 6 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On your radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Jeff, you're kind of interesting. Do you want to
Oh,
get
well,
my
thank you.
podcast?
Kind of interested. I'll take it.
How did you meet Wes?
Like middle school.
In the same class? And
We actually don't think we've ever had a class together
Oh.
until, no, we did have one sophomore English class together.
and Cascade, I guess?
Cascade Middle School, and then
Yeah.
at the high school, we had like a sophomore year English class together. But I think that's the only class we ever actually had together. So we were just had mutual friends, and then I'd see him playing guitar around middle school, and I wanted to be that guy playing guitar, and was not good enough to play in front of people at that point. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just kind of draw towards him, I guess. And through high school, he was always playing, so we just kind of played together and ended up being in multiple bands now together and doing some fun stuff there. Had guitar class together in high school.
Oh, yeah. So what band were you guys in before Lazy Acres?
So
Or what was the first one?
the first one was we had like 4 songs, so we played maybe 3 times in front of anybody. And
Like, who did you play in front of?
we played at like one house party at this other guy's house, like at this other drummer's house. Then we played at Common Ground Coffee House, which used to be a venue in Burlington.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, it was my favorite place to hang out when I was in high school. And then we played at this insane party in Big Lake, and everybody just referred to it as the mansion party.
Oh.
And it was at this huge mansion in Big Lake. It was like this guy's house that his parents were moving out of, so the whole house was just empty. And I don't know, maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people showed up to this house party.
And like a high school?
I was
party?
after high school.
Oh, okay.
And there was supposed to be like 5 bands playing. There's like 3 bands that came from like Portland.
What?
Yeah, it was insane, and it got shut down after the first 2 bands. And
So did you play?
Yeah,
Okay.
we played first, and then my roommate's band played second, and then they shut it down because the cops showed up, and they were like, it was like a good mile, not a mile, probably half mile from the main road, like
Oh.
up a driveway,
Yeah.
and the cops were just at the gate, and like calling whoever owns the house, trying to get a hold of somebody,
Yeah.
and people started like trying to come in, and they stopped everybody from showing up,
Yeah.
and then that's when they got a hold of the guy whose parents owned the house and told him you gotta stop.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But nobody really left after that, which was weird. So there were still like hundreds of people there. But,
milling about.
Yeah, they were just like, it was a massive house.
Yeah.
So and it was like the party was in a basement, and it was just wide open basement, and you couldn't even you couldn't see the end of people. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So for being 18, it was kind of cool.
Yeah. You're like, we made it.
Yeah, we made it. We played this massive house party.
But that was your last show?
It was either that one or the Common Ground show that was the last show.
So wait, so it was you and Wes, and who else?
2 of our other friends, Isaac Brown and Nathan Bjorndal,
Okay.
who we played with forever. They were in another band when I was in high school that I was friends with all of them and hung out with them all the time.
Okay.
Hard rock, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Originals?
Yeah. I don't think we did a cover, honestly. I don't think we had like 4 songs and that was it.
What I hate is how happy the crowd is when they hear a cover. These musicians pour their heart out into these originals, and you're like, play this song.
Play Tom
that
Petty.
I
You
can
know,
just
it's like-
play on Spotify right now. And
Exactly.
anyway.
And so that,
yeah.
even when we do covers, we try to make them as Lazy Acres as possible, is what I would say.
Yeah.
So like when we cover like the Chain by Fleetwood Mac, it's like it's nowhere near the Fleetwood Mac version. Obviously, we
Yeah.
don't have 4 people singing
Yeah.
as well through the whole thing, but we just changed it to where it's as close to our originals as we could make it, I guess.
Yeah. So what was that first band called?
The Cause of Karma. Terrible band name.
Why
I
did
don't
Wes
know.
name it that?
Yeah, good
I'm
guess.
guessing
Yeah,
Wes
yeah,
did.
yeah. So I tried to change it. I tried to say it was causing karma, just as 2 words, but I got voted out, so it was the Cause of Karma.
Okay.
It's not the worst band name I've ever heard. It's pretty bad though.
Yeah.
It's up there for bad. I wanted to call it what was it? We Shot the Deputy.
Oh, okay.
Because of like I shot the sheriff, but I
Yeah.
didn't shoot the deputy, so it's
Yeah.
kind of an answer to that. I've always liked that as a name, but never worked. And I never have had anybody agree with me on that band name, so it's probably never going to work.
So then after that band,
After that band, we took a break. Me and Wes for a while. I wasn't really playing with anybody for a couple of years. Just playing at my house and having random jams with people here and there. And then Wes started another group with the same two guys, Nathan and Isaac, and then our friend Raymond doing rap. And so it's kind of like a roots-based hip-hop band. They started actually like... My main thing with the first band was we never practiced, never wrote more songs. It didn't seem like anybody was really into it. It was kind of we were just hanging out. So we kind of just fell apart. Well, this next one, I was like, oh, they're actually doing something. Like, they're actually trying. So I was hanging out with Wes one day. I was like, hey, if you guys ever need, somebody else in the band, like you want a second guitar or something, let me know. He's like, actually, that'd be really great. And so the next week we hung out. I never played keyboard before in my life. And they're like, all right, we need you to play keyboard and guitar. It's like, okay. So I learned how to play piano, just as root notes as I could with like synthesizers over it, and did that, switching between that and guitar.
what does that mean? Root notes?
Just like a single notes.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't making like chords or doing any
okay.
runs or leads or anything on piano. I'm not near good enough for that, but I can
Yeah.
hold some notes.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what I did. I was like, all right, where's the note? I literally wrote it on tape and put it on the keys so I would remember what note was what.
Oh.
Even actually what's weird is my hands got like super dry. I don't know if from being in the sling
Like
or
the
not.
dry skin?
Yeah, like super dry skin, right? And so every time I'd get out of the shower, it would like, my skin would peel off.
What?
Like, because it would get moisture in it, and it was like so dry, and so I lost all the calluses on my fingertips,
Oh.
and so I got to work those back up.
Recallus your
Yeah, because
fingers.
after I played like for an hour yesterday, I was like, man, my fingers actually kind of hurt. I haven't had this in years, and I was like, oh yeah, they're really soft. I was like, I guess I lost all the calluses. So
So when did you first pick up a guitar? Like how? Like what made you want to?
I had
Start to play.
I had this neighbor whose boyfriend played guitar, and I saw him play, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. And so he gave me wrote down on a piece of paper, musiciansfriend.com, which back then was kind of like the only online music retailer. And I went on there and found like the cheapest, decent acoustic guitar I could find and bought it for my birthday. And I begged my mom to let me use my birthday money to order online, because back then it was probably either you had two options, PayPal or credit card online, And I didn't have anything like that when I was 12, so I had to
you were
beg.
12.
I was
okay.
12, yeah, and so she had to do it for me. It was my 12th birthday, and got an acoustic guitar, and I just started going from there. And then like every year for my birthday, the next following years, I bought a new guitar. So
How many guitars do you have?
currently, right now, 9.
Oh, okay.
So
You're not like as bad as Charlie.
Not Charlie level, no.
I love that we both knew that.
No.
He has probably the most out of anyone, right? I'd say.
I mean, around here, definitely,
Yeah,
yeah. He's got like a closet. Well, it's not even a closet. It's probably a bedroom. Like if you from this frame right here,
Yeah.
like this way almost. It's like a room that big.
Wow.
With just shelves on it with guitar cases with tape on them to tell you what's in it. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've done a lot of trading in the last couple of years to get up to another kind of guitar that I actually want. And I've had a few that I thought I wanted, had them for a while, didn't actually use them.
Yeah.
And so they were just really nice guitars sitting on a wall,
Just art.
Pretty much. Like the last one I had was like it's called a Duesenberg. They're hand built in Germany.
Oh.
Super nice guitar. It's just I played it I think 2 shows,
Yeah.
and I was just like scared to take it out, and it's like buying a really nice car and not wanting to get a scratch on it, you know. And I was like, okay, I it's sitting on my wall. I found a new Fender that I wanted, so I ordered one through the Hugo Homer in Burlington, and worked a deal with him for that guitar and an amp for the new guitar. So
Yeah.
and now I have one that I'll play all the time. So
Oh yeah. So after your Karma band, what band were you guys in after that? Oh no,
so
the rap group.
yeah, that
And
one.
what was that one
That
called?
was called Big Moan and the Brothers Frog. I did not choose that name either.
I think we said this on the radio. So
I think
is
we did.
Wes Big Mo?
No, Big Moan was Raymond.
Okay.
And so he went by Big Moan.
Okay.
And then I think he went by like Raymond at one point because it was Raymond.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we had that for quite a while. And then I don't really actually know what happened at the end of that. I think it just kind of dispersed.
And what kind of shows did you guys play?
I mean, my first show was opening for Bubba Sparks at the Buffalo in Bellingham.
Bubba Sparks?
Bubba Sparks.
Big?
He's like he had a couple of big songs in the early 2000s, I would say. One's called Deliverance. One was called Miss New Booty.
Okay.
I mean, if you've definitely heard it, I'm sure. If I played it, you would know it. But yeah, I mean, it was packed house at the Wild Buffalo in Bellingham. I was like, okay, this is like what a show's like.
Yeah.
Never played one of those again. Still, I haven't played it.
You're like, this is the beginning.
I played at the Buffalo like 3 or 4 times total, and they've never been like that again.
That was your peak.
Yeah, that was my peak. It was the first show I played with them. Other than that, we played at like the Shakedown in Bellingham and the Royal in Bellingham, a couple places like that. And then we did some other side events here and there, but we weren't playing shows every weekend by any means. That didn't start happening until Lazy Acres.
So after the rap group was Lazy Acres?
Yeah, it took a while. We started to do just the Brothers Frog, so without the rapping. And we played maybe 5 or 6 shows like that, and then we had a falling out with some of the members, so we kind of dispersed. A couple years later, maybe a year or 2, Wes asked me if I wanted to start playing with him again. So it's a real fun video I get on a Facebook memory all the time of me and him in my garage, like trying to set up microphones, and I'm just like screaming into a microphone.
Why?
Just to test mics and be dumb. Because I like to do metal screaming. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And that was your first Lazy Acres practice.
I wouldn't even technically say it was Lazy Acres. It was just me and Wes like, all right, what songs could we put together to play like something together and do a show? And that's right when like Local 20 in Cedar Lake had opened.
Oh, okay.
And so we had like a place to go and play. And so it was just, I mean, we probably played 10 shows, just Wes and I.
Oh.
And so it was just me on an electric guitar and him on an acoustic, and we just kind of put together like a 2-hour thing and did that for a while.
Yeah.
And then Joe came to us, which is Wes's brother-in-law.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's like, yeah, so when are you going to let me play bass? Lazy Acres. He said
When are you going to let me?
Yeah, when are you going to let me be
Did you
in the
guys
band?
know he was a bass player?
I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Wes knew, but he's like, I didn't know that was something you were interested in, so sure, come on in.
Yeah.
And then we tried out a couple drummers. Some of them didn't work. One lasted almost a year,
Yeah.
I'd say, and then we had a falling out with him, and then that's when Trevor joined.
What's so great about Trevor?
Well, he's amazing.
Okay.
And actually, Trevor was my brother's really good friend.
Okay.
Like, they're the same age.
Justin?
So, yeah, Justin. So, like, in middle school, when I was in middle school, I was, like, playing guitar in my room, and he would come over and hear me. And then he brought me over, like, a different amp one day. He's like, hey, play out of this. It's a lot nicer than what you're using. Hang on to it for a little bit. I'll come get it.
Oh, cool.
And so he, like, kind of gave me that. And then through high school, he was in some bands that I was also mutual friends with. And so we kind of got closer.
Yeah.
And then out of high school, we hung out a few times and jammed a couple times. And then he was living down he went to, I think, Eastern for college. And then he lived down south quite a bit. And then he lived in Seattle. And then he was moving back up. And he just asked me if I wanted to hang out and play some music. And I went over to his house and jammed with him, just me and him. I was like, man, you're really good at drums. And, like, really good. And I was like, man, we should start something, or, you need to join this band.
Yeah.
And so it was a couple months later, we kind of got the right things in place. We had a good stopping point for the original drummer, and then a new starting point for him.
Yeah.
And as soon as he joined, I mean, we played a show a month and a half in at the Wild Buffalo. So his first show with Lazy Acres was also at the Wild Buffalo. And, yeah, he just picked it up immediately.
I mean, I don't know much about drums at all, but, and I'll cut this out if it sounds rude, but, like, what, like, I guess I'm trying to think, like, I feel like the only thing that would make a drummer bad is if they can't keep a regular tempo. Is there way more than that?
Yeah, I mean, there's having different stylistic, like, things. Like, sure, you can do just a regular beat.
Like, do you tell them, like, I want to hear this? Or
I don't tell Trevor
do they
anything.
come up with, like, do you say, like, I want this kind of beat? Or are they like, I think this would sound good?
See, there's drummers like that.
Okay.
Where you're like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I need you to do this. But Trevor's like, we just have such good chemistry with him now that we just get, do what you want to do pretty much. If we have, like, an idea, like, hey, there needs to be a stop here, something like that. That's just song structure. That's not really me telling him how to play drums,
Yeah.
But I let him, he does what he does. he's not going to write my guitar parts, I'm not going to write his drum parts, so, and I fully trust him to write something that's amazing, so.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how that works. Like, say, like, Wes writes a song, like, does he write all the parts of the song? Oh, okay.
No, none of us do. So, like, I'll write a guitar part. It'll be like, hey, I have 3 guitar parts.
Like one person starts,
Yeah.
and everyone else kind of says,
Or
okay, this
sometimes
sounds...
it starts from, I have this 2-second guitar part.
Really?
You know, and it's like, all right, let's build a song off of it, you know, or
Yeah.
something like that. Or I'll be working at my house where typically it takes me a few months to come up with like 3 guitar parts that I can put together into a song, but I'm not the best at like building a full song structure. I have good small ideas, not big picture ideas, I guess. And so I'll be like, hey, I have this intro part with like a verse guitar part and kind of a chorus idea. How do we make this into something Wes can sing over that also flows together perfectly?
Yeah.
So then it takes a full group effort to come up with the full structure.
Yeah.
So, and then same thing, Wes will be like, hey man, I wrote this, you know, guitar part. What do you guys want to do over it? I wrote this, you know, guitar and vocal part. I kind of have this melody in my head, and then we just kind of build off that. So
Yeah.
Wes in the past has had complete songs. Then he'll play them, and then we just kind of write our own parts to it,
Oh, okay.
you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm writing all my own guitar parts
Yeah.
on everything, and Joe's writing his own bass lines, Trevor's writing the drums, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a collective.
Yeah.
That's why if you look at our albums, the songwriting credits just say Lazy Acres.
Yeah.
Because none of us write a complete song with every instrument, you know?
So then once Trevor joined, that was like the official like Lazy Acres lineup once
Yeah.
Trevor joined.
Yeah, I mean, we've all said recently, like, if any one of us leaves, Lazy Acres is done.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, it's not Lazy Acres if
without
yeah.
one of us, it's not.
Yeah.
So it'd be something completely different,
Yeah.
which is fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
So we talked a lot about concerts too on the radio. And you were saying that you have seen Thrice 12 times?
Something like that, yeah. It would probably be 10 to 12 times if I had to guess, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've been to lots of shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of, like, not big shows. I've been to a lot of big shows, and all in between everything. I go to as many shows as I can.
I don't know where I even heard this, but they were saying that vinyl outsold CDs last year.
Yep, they did. And it's because cars don't even come with CD players anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, new cars, like, there's no CD player. It's just all Bluetooth
Yeah.
or a USB connection. So.
I didn't even know that my 2011 Prius had a CD player because the screen was right there. And then just for some reason, I was like sitting in a parking lot and I'm like, what's this button for? And I pressed it and the screen went like this. And I screamed. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So yeah, it was incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Olive's like, what is that? I'm like, this is called a CD player. And I was telling her, I'm like, I used to have this in my trunk. And she's like, why would it be in your trunk? I'm like,
the 6-disc changer in the trunk?
I was like, I don't know. Why was it in the trunk?
There wasn't enough room, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like we had it installed. Like you had to get it installed.
Yep. My wife had a 95 Accord that had a 6-disc changer in the trunk. And it was like a metal bracket mounting it to the like top of the trunk.
Yeah.
And it had like a cartridge that you pull out and put your 6 discs in there, put it back in, and then you could choose them from inside from like the radio.
Yeah.
But we took all of that out eventually. So
I know. And remember like taking your faceplate? Did you ever do that?
Yeah. And putting it like in a little carry case sometimes or anything like that.
So dumb now.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. But I mean, I'm not going to say I never bought a CD player out of some guy's trunk one time, you know? So like, I see why they do get stolen. So
yeah. All right. So then Lazy Acres. Now that's not your full-time gig though, obviously.
I wish.
Unfortunately, you guys don't play that many shows.
If I could play full time, I would.
But Wes was saying that like you guys used to play a ton. Was it right before COVID? Like you played
before,
like I forget the number he told me, but was it right before COVID?
Honestly, before COVID, we were busy.
Like
even
every weekend?
Yeah.
Like 2 shows?
2 shows. Yeah, sometimes 3.
Wow.
But even last summer, I mean, we were playing every weekend, maybe skip a week here and there. But right at the end of summer, I think we had 4 shows in 4 days. And It was tough for sure. It was a lot. And I was going through another thing with my shoulder is I would have residual pain.
Oh.
And so it would go up my shoulder blade and kind of go into the back of my neck and then give me headaches and stuff. And that was one of those weekends that we had 4 shows. And I was just miserable the entire weekend. So yeah, it was terrible, but it was still fun. We had it, and we ended with a 3-hour show in the middle of the day in the sun in August. So
at like a festival?
No, it was at a street event in LaConner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was just, it was a decent turnout and stuff. It was fun, but we had to play for like 3 hours.
Wow.
Which is tough.
Well, and I think about how it's just hard to, like play guitar or whatever, or drums for 3 hours. But I mean, I'm thinking of Wes, like singing for 4 days. Like,
Yeah.
that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a very social person, so he's always talking in between everything,
Yeah.
you know, and so that doesn't help either.
Yeah.
And so he's just probably exhausted by that, end of that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and not all the sets were obviously 3 hours through that whole weekend, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot.
And then what do you do? You told me on the radio. What do you do for your full-time job?
I work at Honda of Burlington,
Oh, okay.
so
Yeah. Do you like that?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
good people to work for. It's if I couldn't, if I could not work a regular job, I wouldn't. But that's okay. It's a
Yeah.
good place to work though.
That's what you've been doing since high school?
No, I delivered
Okay.
pizza for a long time.
Yeah.
I managed some Domino's from here to Bellingham.
The manager?
I was a assistant manager at the Burlington or at the Mount Vernon store, and then I was an assistant manager at the Sea Home Domino's in Bellingham, but my general manager was never there.
Okay.
So I was the manager.
Right.
I was the only active manager on duty.
Assistant
every day.
manager pay,
Yeah.
but
Like, I think I remember right. I was getting like 21 cents over minimum wage because I didn't get a raise when minimum wage went up.
yeah.
Right. So I was like barely making more than minimum wage, but I was working like 75 hours a week.
Wow.
So I was like 19 or 20 doing
Yeah.
that. So back
then-
then I was like, oh yeah, this is,
I
great
know.
money.
I was going to say, yeah. You get your paycheck,
No.
you're like, this is so much money.
Yeah, I was making like $9.25 an hour. Yeah.
What I forget, what's your wife's name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Okay. And how did you guys meet?
We met at a party at her apartment.
Wait, were you delivering pizza
No.
to her?
No.
That would have been a good story.
That would have been a good story. But no. So what my first roommate, Danny, and they were friends, and she was like, hey, my friend's having this party in Mount Vernon. We loaded up in like 3 different vehicles because there were so many of us already at my house. We're like, yeah, let's go to this party in Mount Vernon. So we just took off, and we get there, the door's locked, nobody's at this apartment. I was like, are you sure this is the right apartment? And she's like, yeah, they told me they were having a party. And we were like, okay. And then about like 5 minutes later, the girls whose apartment was come walking up the stairs and see this stairwell full of people. And they're like, what's going on? And she's like, well, you told me you were having a party, so I brought, my friends over. They're like, well, we weren't actually going to. Like, we decided not to, but I guess come in. So we went in and hung out, and I knew that she had a boyfriend, and so I wasn't really, like, trying to, like, start up much of a conversation. I knew the boyfriend at the time. And I went outside to smoke, and she followed me out there. And I was like, hey, just talking to her. I was like, yeah, I know who you are. I know your boyfriend and all this stuff. And she's like, well, how do you know him? And, well, I don't know how honest I can be on this podcast, I guess. I was like, she's like, how do you know? I was like, well, I buy weed from him. And she's like, he doesn't sell weed. And I was like, he did Wednesday. Like, I saw him.
How long had she been dating him?
A couple months, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I was like, well, I saw him at Fred Meyer on Wednesday. He sold me weed. And
Like in the parking lot?
Yeah, definitely. And she's like, no way. And I was like, I was like, if I'm outing him, I'm sorry. That's not what I was trying to do. And she just started talking to me about that. And she's like, well, I've been thinking about breaking him up with him anyways, and letting it through this whole thing. And I was probably pretty, drunk at this point, honestly. And I was, we left. She messaged me like the next day on Facebook or something. She's like, I broke up with my boyfriend. And I was like, great. Okay, here we go. And she's like, well, when do you want to hang out? And I was like, I didn't know that was an option. Sure, I'll hang out with you. Here's my phone number. Let me know.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, we started hanging out. We started dating like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then she moved into my house like 2 months later after that.
Oh.
Because she was getting the apartment. They broke the lease because one of the roommates didn't want to live there. She was going to move into her friend's parents' house, like in this bedroom in this upstairs area. And it was like middle of June. It was like 110 degrees in this bedroom.
Wow.
It smelled like cat pee.
Oh, no.
It was so bad. And
Cat pee.
Yeah, it was just so bad. And I was like, you can't live in here. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way. And so we kind of just put her stuff in there. And I was like, put your stuff in here. You can stay at my house. And that night, I was actually not going to be there for a while. So I was like, I'm going down to my cousin's graduation in Enumclaw. You go stay at my house, whatever you need to do. And then she just never left. So
Yeah.
she's been there ever since. And I think it was probably a month or two later, we went over and got all of her stuff out of that house.
Yeah.
And then it was like probably 6 months later, my mom asked me about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, she's living with me. She's like, well, I need to get her like on the lease agreement then. Like,
Yeah.
Because if she's living there, I need to know that. And I was like, oh, that's fair. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, she's been the only constant in that house since then. But
So I feel like you've mentioned like 5 things that Justin does.
yeah, he
So
does
he's
everything.
a massage therapist.
So initially he went to school for like some computer programming thing. So if you need any IT work, he's licensed to do fiber optic. He's licensed for like a lot of like network stuff. Massage therapist, bartender. He used to work on cars. What else has he done?
Pizza delivery.
Delivered pizza. Yeah, he did that for a while. He got robbed one time.
He did?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, it was like a snowstorm in Bellingham. And we used to do these things because I can say this because we don't work there anymore. But like your friend would get off work.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, hey, you want to go for a ride along? And get in, you'd smoke weed together, deliver pizza. Well, they went up this hill, and my brother gets there, and like he's like, I knocked on the door, and nobody answered, so he calls the guy. He's like, oh, I'll be out in a minute. And he like comes out from this alley, and he goes like right up to my brother's car door and like punches my brother in the face through the window. And he's like, give me all your money or I'm going to stab you. And like, he can't see what he has. Well, my brother's getting also, I should start this with, my brother was driving like a 96 Geo Metro.
Is that
tiny,
really,
tiny little car, right?
Yeah.
3-cylinder engine. And my brother's 6'4".
Yes,
so
he's huge.
he had to adjust, like he had to unbolt the seat in that car and move it back and re-bolt it in because to make it more comfortable. And so my brother gets out of the car, and the guy's probably not expecting this, big human to get out of the car. And my brother's like fighting with him. Well, his buddy Dalton was with him. And my brother used to have like a 6-foot shovel in the back of his car, or not 6-foot shovel, like 4-foot shovel, and for the snow to like if he got stuck in the snow, he could dig himself out. And Dalton comes running around the side of the car and goes to hit the guy, and the guy sees him and just takes off running. So then they're like, well, now we got to call the cops and like explain all this. And yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, he's the only person I know that got robbed at Domino's, but they had a rule after that. We were only allowed to carry $20 on us.
Okay.
Yeah. So
because of that.
Because if somebody was like, oh, I need change for $100. Well,
Yeah.
your order's only $15, so then you're coming out with, $85 in change.
Yeah.
And then they try to steal that because, I guess $85 is worth trying to stab somebody over. But
Desperate times.
yeah, desperate times. Yeah, the old Bellingham Domino's days. But
Does he manage any other bands?
no.
Okay.
Well, he just because he would show up and like help us with stuff. And he was always supportive.
He's like, I'm here anyway.
Yeah. And I just kind of talked to him about like the struggles that we have and the things that are tough about, running a band. And he's like, well, let me try to help. And so he like did a bunch of research on it, of course, and he got us a business license and he got us a bank account and like stuff that we were just keeping money in an envelope in my bedroom,
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, let's get a bank account. So you guys all have cards. We have checks. You guys can pay yourself out of the bank account, like a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that makes perfect sense. So,
Yeah.
or if, there's band expenses, you can just run it out of there. That way it's all documented. And then he's like, well, let me just handle the business thing, because the hardest thing is like you play at venues you've never played before, and sometimes it's like now you're trying to find the guy that's paying you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my brother's main job at shows, is find the guy that's paying us and get us paid.
Before you start.
Not even before we start, just like in a timely manner.
Yeah.
Because we
it helps that he's 6'4". Yeah. He's like, hey, where's my money?
Where's my check? Yeah.
Yeah.
That does help. I'm not going to name any names, but there was a venue that we played at with some of our friends' bands.
Yeah.
And it came down to like me and a guy from one of the bands and another guy from the other band, like trying to find the guy to pay us. And we finally found him, and he like told us to wait. And we're like, we've been done playing music for an hour. Like, how long do we got to wait? And he's like, well, I got to rent it at night to like see how much we owe you. And I was okay,
like you're paid on commission.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, we're not getting tipped out right now. Like, what are you paying us?
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand how the whole structure of things works. So now it's like, if it's somewhere that's like a ticketed event and they're like, hey, we give you this percentage of the tickets, that's established beforehand. Yeah. Or here's your flat rate fee. This is how much you're getting paid. Perfect.
Yeah. That
way it's all on paper. Nobody can get mad at each other because it's all in writing.
Yeah.
And back then it was kind of like, I don't know how much we're going to get paid and who's paying us or how did we even get this show, And so it's a lot more organized now.
Yeah. Now that Justin's in charge.
Yes. Yeah. So it gives us something to not worry about. Now we get to just worry about, showing up on time, putting on a good show, being, talking to everybody and making new friends and finding other bands to play with. And that's kind of our only focus now.
Yeah.
So,
well, and now you'll have kids.
Yeah. Everybody but Trevor. Yeah.
So what is it? What was that diaper to
the Money for Diapers tour?
Money for Diapers.
That was a joke by Clay.
I love it.
Clay designed like the poster and he like put Money for Diapers on there. What else did he put on there? It was something even more ridiculous. And I think Wes accidentally posted it on something. But he's like, I put that on there as a joke. I was like, no, we love it. Like, that's hilarious. Yeah. So, it's a good thing to have because diapers are expensive. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Clay's another awesome guy like Justin.
Yeah.
That's like, let me take this off your plate.
Yes.
Like,
He's
it's
done
something
so much
that
art.
I can do. Yeah.
He's done a bunch of artwork for us, and like he did our King of the Hill shirts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he
Those
did
are
that.
great.
He's made several show posters for us at this point, and I shot a music video for us. Yeah, he's shown up and done pictures, whatever he can do. So yeah, he's awesome. You know, a funny story actually leading up to this. So I've listened to your podcast,
Which one?
all of them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I've
okay.
most of them. I probably haven't
Okay.
listened to all of them. But
Yeah, probably the ones people you know especially.
yeah, and
yeah.
some that I like. That's actually the first time I'd ever heard anything from Cascade Cody.
Oh,
was on your
okay.
podcast,
Yeah.
and then I met him like the next day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this guy is awesome. Like, I met him in person. I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm Jeff. I'm in Lazy Acres. Kind of introduced myself. Then we've been friends since.
Yeah.
But then when we met, like, a week ago or whatever it
Yeah.
was, less than a week ago, I was like, oh, this is the first time I've actually met you, but I really enjoy all your stuff. So I was like, it's kind of cool to, it all comes together,
Yeah.
But
Okay, so I'll mention a musician, and then you tell me if you have like a good story about them.
okay.
Let's go. Let's see. Miguel.
Miguel.
Tell me why you hate Miguel. Go.
Whoa.
No, just because
whoa.
we went to see Zachman's show last weekend, and so he's playing great songs, and Miguel will go like this, thumbs down after every song. And of course, Zach's like making fun of him. I look behind me, there's a kid behind me, and the kid's going like this, thumbs up to Zach. And I was like, so sweet. The kid's like supporting Zach.
That's awesome.
Because Miguel, yeah. Anyway,
I had only met Miguel like last summer. We were playing a show up in Birdsview. And he came up and like kind of talked to us and stuff. And he was telling him and his. Actually, I think he told the story on the show.
Oh, how he came up with the name?
Yeah, with him and Trevor
okay.
talking. So it was at that show. And I was like, oh, you guys are starting a band. That's awesome. Where are you guys from? And they're like, oh, we're from Concrete. And I was like, oh, do you know the name Sarah Wenrick, which is my wife's maiden name?
Oh, she's from Concrete.
Yeah, and they're like,
okay.
yeah. And I was like, oh, that's my wife. And they're like, your wife? And I was like, yeah, married, have a kid, and all this. And we'll come to find out they were really good friends with her younger brher. And they used to be in a band together. And
really?
They're like, yeah, we've known Sarah forever. And I was like, oh,
funny.
so we just small town connections like that.
So what's his name?
Her brother's name? Caleb. He's not really playing actively
I feel
anymore,
like I've
but-
heard of Caleb. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
he lives in
okay.
Darrington now.
Okay.
But yeah, so he was in a band with them called Salt Marsh Caterpillar. I believe that was the name. Miguel can correct me if I'm wrong.
Name.
I'm pretty sure that's the name.
I'm gonna make merch and not tell him.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
I'm gonna show up to a show.
Wearing a Salt Marsh
Salt
Caterpillar. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. So that was the first time you met Miguel.
Yeah, that was, and then same with Spencer.
Yeah.
The first time I met them. Yeah, I was at that show, and then yeah, they're great. I love playing shows with them, and yeah, they're all really good. Really talented musicians. I think the first time I saw them was at the Rockport bar.
Oh, okay.
And just kind of went up there on a whim. Wes texted me that he was heading up, so I was like, "Oh, I'll be up there and meet you there." And
yeah,
really stoked I went because they're awesome and
yeah, they're pretty
good
fun.
band. Yeah,
yeah. And then so I was gonna say Cody, but you met Cody at.
I met Cody at when it was the Wes Jones trio at the Burlington Summer Nights concerts.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah, so I pulled up with my kid Miles because my wife was out of town. And I was like, oh, I got to get him out of the house and go do something. So I took him there, and Cody was there, and so I introduced myself there, and because I saw him kind of hanging out with Clay, and
yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'll go say something. But
yeah,
I'm kind of sometimes socially awkward, so I don't know if I should or not. But
yeah,
I went for it that time. So
yeah. How about Scott's story? I'll just say all my past guests. Do you know Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a pause there. Oh,
yeah.
You got a good Scott story.
Well, Scott and I are kind of related through marriage.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I knew of him for a long time, and then I started meeting him more when we went through bands and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I love Scott. He's a super nice guy. He's always super supportive, and like he's one of those guys where you like see him. It's like it doesn't matter if you haven't seen him in a year. It's like your best friends.
Yeah.
Big hug. How you doing? How's everything going? And wants to have a full conversation. And yeah.
So how are you related?
Super nice guy. So his. God, this is a long way to go about this. So my grandpa isn't my biological grandpa. My grandma and grandpa got married before I was born. I think my mom was pregnant with me, and his daughter is Scott's wife.
Oh, Tony.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we're through that line.
Okay, got it.
So a couple marriures there.
So she'd be an aunt.
Like a step aunt, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so but we're never really that close when I was kids. I probably met them 5 times when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then becoming an adult, like I kind of met him at shows. My mom was like, "Oh, you know who that is, right?" And then told me. I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Okay. Yeah, I keep seeing Scott mowing the lawn at Les Schwab.
Really?
And I've honked my horn at him like every time, but I don't think he hears me because he has like big earmuffs on. And I'm driving by, I'm like laying on my horn. I'm like, somebody probably just thinks I'm crazy, but I see him out there. So.
Or do you get nervous at all during shows?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I am my hardest critic for sure. So I will mess up one little thing in a show and it'll eat me alive for like a day.
Really?
Yeah, and it drives me insane. And like it gets because like I personally like think every other guitar player is better than me.
Yeah, like imposter
because I'm like I don't even know if it's that, I guess, but like I'm like what I'm doing up here anybody could do is like how I view it. I'm like any of these other guitar players could play something cooler than I am right now. It's like how I end up feeling, but then I get reassured that that's just not the case, and I'm like, well, that's your opinion, and I'll just sit here and be hard on myself anyways.
Yeah.
And so I definitely get nervous about it. It's more so when I have friends that are other guitar players, not necessarily in front of like guitar players I don't know.
Yeah.
But like if Charlie's watching or Corey or somebody like that, and I'm like, okay, I gotta be on. Like I have to play good, or else like Charlie's gonna notice when I do that one lesson, something like that. And so it'll eat me alive. But it's always good when Charlie comes up and he's like, hey, good playing tonight. And I'm like, yes.
How'd you meet Charlie?
We met at Common Ground.
Okay. Yeah, he was the first person that told me about that place.
Really?
Yeah. I think he mentioned it in his podcast.
Okay. Yeah. He was in a band called Deluxe Goodness.
Oh, I made a shirt.
Did you really?
But I put Goodness Deluxe, and he's like, "You got it
Close.
wrong." I was like, "Damn it!"
Yeah, that's.
But now
funny.
I don't want to change it because it's kind of funny. Now.
Yeah, that is good. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So he was in a band. Trevor was in that band at one point, I think, as well.
Oh, really?
Which was also it was fronted by our friend Jason. Another friend Brad was in that band.
Okay.
So yeah, Charlie was at Common Ground a lot, so I just met him through that, and also so Charlie's I think a year or two younger than me, maybe a year and a half ish, something like that.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden, he's just the best guitar player there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did he come from? And especially back then, like when I was in high school, I was not a good guitar player.
Yeah.
Like, I could play chords and, jam and stuff like that, but I wasn't very good. I wasn't playing in front of people.
Yeah.
And he stepped up and I was just like, how is this guy doing this? Like, how is he so good? And so he was just always kind of, he did a lot of blues jams and stuff, and it's just really built up his ability. And so everybody knew him from that because he's like, well, he's younger than most people here, but he's the best. So, if you can get him to play with you, then you got something going on.
Yeah.
But that's how I first met Charlie.
Yeah.
And then, we got closer. He worked at the music store and had, a lot of mutual friends, and we started hanging out. And
I think Corey said that's how he met Charlie.
Hugo's.
Yeah, he walked in. He was like, "Who is this guy playing this guitar?"
Playing real good.
Yeah.
So, and now, I'll, run everything by Charlie when I do things. I'll text him and be like, hey, what do you think of this, pedal? What do you think of this guitar? What do you think of this amp? Should I do this? Will you come set my guitars up for me? Because I don't know what I'm doing. He pretty much helped me design my entire pedal board. He's done all that for me. So
yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's Charlie.
Yeah. How about Jack?
Jack Mattingly.
Let's hear a good Jack story.
I met Jack when I was 14.
Did you really?
Yep. My brother was really good friends with his drummer at the time. His name was Bob Bakke. They were in a band called Bad Chuck.
Oh, okay. That was him and Dusty?
Him, Dusty, and Bob.
Okay.
I think that was it. I don't know if there's anybody else. I don't remember too much of that situation. But
or was there a band called Stepdads?
Yeah, that was
that
Dusty.
after
That was Dusty, and I think that's a
Bad
newer
Chuck?
thing though.
Okay.
But so Bad Chuck was back then, and they were playing in the garage at Bob's house in Northern Cedar Woolley, and we played Ultimate Frisbee with Bob. And he had ordered a bunch of brand new Frisbees, and so me and my brother each got 2 of them. Gave him money for him, and so we were going to pick them up. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just having band practice. Stop by." And I'm like, "Yeah, I was 14," and we go into this garage, and it's the first time I've ever seen a band set up.
Oh, cool.
And I'd never met Jack before. I'd only kind of met Bob a few times.
Are you guys roughly the same age?
Jack's older there. I walk in and they're jamming and stuff, and I was like, oh, being a 14-year-old kid, asking a couple guitar questions here and there. And my brother's like, oh yeah, my brother plays guitar. And, which was rare for back then. My brother made fun of me for playing guitar forever because he would tell me I suck all the time. And
but in front of other people,
he was actually, he plays, and
he's like, don't make fun of my brother. I will.
Yeah, exactly. So
typical brother.
Jack's like, oh, you play guitar, and hands me his guitar
on the spot.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. And so
I have to impress him.
Yeah, and I'm like 14. I've been playing guitar like a year and a half, and so I'm like, all right, let me play some AC/DC songs. And,
I'm gonna play Wagon Wheel, guys.
yeah, fuck. No. And so but they jammed with me and like they figured it out and they're like, oh, he's playing, an AC/DC song. We'll play it with him and kind of, just jam with the kid. And I was like my first time ever playing with like a drummer and a bass player. And I think there was another guitar player. For some reason, I feel like there was, but I don't remember who it would have been. But yeah, it was my first time meeting Jack. Was at that time. I've reminded him about that somewhat in the past couple of years, and just like, hey, I met you at this one point, and I still remembered this blue paisley guitar that he had. It was a Fender Telecaster that was like blue with like paisley on it, and he was saying something to me like a year ago. He's like, yeah, I kind of want to get like an electric again. I was like, don't you still have that blue paisley guitar? He's like, yeah, how do you know that? And I told him the story. He's like, yeah, it's in my garage. And that's funny enough. That's what he's playing with Turnkey, I believe. Is that
I was
guitar.
going to say the other night, I think I saw it at the show. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's, same guitar. And, yep.
Has Lazy Acres played shows with Whiskey Fever?
With Whiskey Fever, yeah.
Because you guys were on the same time, yeah.
First show that we had with Trevor was at the Wild Buffalo with Whiskey Fever and another friend of ours band, Kickin' Names, which is like a two-piece folk punk kind of duo. And first time there, and then they played with us at our EP release party, which was like our first like big show in the Valley. That I would say that at Farmstrong there's probably like 500-600 people there.
Wow,
and it was packed in that beer garden.
Farmstrong?
At Farmstrong in that beer garden outside, and like there was like people everywhere, cars just wherever anybody could find a space to park. Walmart's parking lot was like filling up. I
was gonna say, I feel like I've seen at most 30 people.
Oh, it was
maybe.
Insane, and.
Wow.
It was before they had that truck stage.
Yeah.
So we just set up like another stage off to the side, kind of where the food truck is.
Oh, okay.
Set up over there, and it was just packed because, Whiskey Fever drew a crowd,
Yeah.
And so we just kind of rode their coattails through that.
Yeah.
And, but no, it was great. That was a good show. And back then, Trevor had been in the band 2-3 months. I think we only had like 8, maybe 10 songs that we could play.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, we've evolved since then, but we've done a bunch of shows together since then, too.
Are you legally allowed to go to Canada?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I have been detained at that border once, though.
For what?
My friend that was driving me had a suspended license, and I didn't know. And we were 19, we were going to go to Vancouver, get a hotel room, drink, go out to bars and stuff.
Because you turned 19.
Yep. And it's legal there. So we were going to go up there. And, we get pulled off to the side and detained for like 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
And like they took my shoes, they took my phone, they took everything.
Wow.
And like we're going through my photos on my phone and stuff, and because they're like, well, you don't have any rights here. And so because I'm not a citizen of that country.
Yeah.
And they started going through everything, and they like searched the car head to toe, and there's nothing in there. But it wasn't until they released us from Canada, sent us to the U.S. side, and then we were getting processed over there.
Yeah.
And the guy just like looks up from a computer. He's like, "You have a suspended license." And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, why are you driving? And he's I didn't know. And I'm like, how do you not know?
Why did he have a suspended license?
Unpaid tickets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we got, and I didn't have my phone on me, so I couldn't call Sarah to tell her what was going on until I got back into the U.S. And then from there, they're like, well, you have to drive out of here, pointing to me. And it was like in his car. And I was like, okay, just get me out of here. Whatever I got to do to get out of here.
Yeah.
And then the buddy of mine was like, well, what happens if he tries to drive us back through? I was like, I am not attempting that right now. We've been in this holding cell for way too long.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, it was bad. And I went to Whistler in like 2017. First question I got at the border was, have you ever been detained at the border? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, what happened? I had to explain the whole thing to them, and they wanted to pick apart my story.
Yeah.
To see if I was like lying about something, I'm guessing. And they let me through, obviously. But
yeah,
I did get detained there. I am welcome there, but I will probably get that question for the rest of my life.
I feel like we could have talked about Thrice for 2 hours. Or you could have talked about Thrice.
I could easily talk about Thrice for 2 hours, yeah.
Well, I thought it was funny because the only other person that I know that listens to Thrice is my esthetician.
Oh, okay.
And so whenever I'm like, oh, hey, Becca, do you want to hear a song? She's like, Liz, I just recommend Thrice, any Thrice song. And I was like, I don't know who this is. And so a couple songs I put on were kind of hard. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I don't know if this is my thing.
Yeah, so check out like the album Major, Minor, or Beggars.
Okay.
2 of their I would put it more towards the indie side of rock. Yeah. Even one of the new albums, To Be Everywhere Is To Be Nowhere, is more just kind of middle rock, not like screaming or like super heavy.
Yeah.
Their first albums were like hardcore skateboard punk.
Yeah.
Then they went into like just post-hardcore kind of, albums for like 2.5 albums.
Yeah.
Really cool 5th album called The Alchemy Index.
Yeah.
It has 24 songs on it.
Oh, wow.
And the first, it's all the elements. So it's like air, earth, water, air.
Yeah.
And, or fire, air. Yeah, yeah. And so fire and water are kind of heavier, and then air and earth are a lot more mellow.
Oh, cool.
And kind of, so it's just really cool how they do it all. And then like
Yeah.
the 6th song on each of them is like the same song, but in different elements.
Yeah.
So cool stuff like that. But,
Cool.
Yeah. So there's a Thrice album for everybody.
Yeah.
You know? So
I love that.
yeah.
All right, and so if people want to follow you and see your shows, you guys post on. You guys are really good at Justin. Sorry, is really good.
No,
at
Justin
posting.
does. Wes and Trevor do most of our posting.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they're kind of the
Lazy Acres Instagram.
Lazy
and
Acres Band,
Facebook.
Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on any streaming platform.
Yeah.
You know, so we're
Let's go on a Wes story. Tell me an embarrassing or nice story about Wes. You could tell a nice one. You could tell us how much you love Wes and why. And
I do love Wesley. He's definitely one of my favorite people.
yeah.
Well, this one actually pertains to a different friend of ours, but it was me and Wes in the journey.
Yeah.
Our friend, I'm not going to name him.
Okay.
He had some issues legally years ago.
Okay.
He got arrested in Ritzville, Washington, which is almost to Pullman.
Okay.
That's where his destination was. As to go visit friends over at college, and they made it to Ritzville, which is just this tiny, off the highway town. Not really a lot to do there. Well, his mom gets a hold of Wes and me to go get him out of jail and bail him out. And Wes and I go the whole way. It's like a 6-hour drive or something like that, or 5-hour drive or something. And we get there, and we get there kind of early. So they're like, well, you can't bail him out at this time. You got to come back at a different time. We're like, okay, so we're kind of cruising around, and then we get there, and they're like, all right, so it's going to be $1,600 for his charges here in Ritzville. And we're like, okay, so let's go figure out how much money we have. We went to our like bank accounts, emptied our own bank accounts. His mom was going to Western Union us the difference, so we had to drive all the way to Moses Lake because that was the closest Western Union. Come back, and then we go to pay. Like, all right, here's $1,600. Can we have our friend now? And they're like, well, there's also $500 in charges from Whatcom County.
Oh my gosh.
So we're like trying to get more money Western Union, but you can only do so many transactions in a day and all this. And then she tried to do it right before they closed, but I think she spelled my name wrong or something. So we couldn't get the money. And so me and Wes had to just drive back without him. It was so sad for the whole drive home, just feeling terrible. But yeah, that's one of a long day of Wes and I's that just did not end good.
Wait, so how did he come back? Like, did you have to go back the next
I think
day?
his mom went down there after his court date.
Oh, okay.
And then actually months later, I had to drive him down there to another court date.
Yeah.
So I went to Ritzville twice for that reason. But yeah.
Oh,
So tiny little town. But
shows
yeah.
what a good friend you guys are.
Yeah. So Wes and I had some journeys like that for sure. Where us driving into the unknown and trying to figure it out.
Let's
So,
make a jail playlist. Let's
Yeah.
go. Put some.
get out of jail playlist.
What Thrice album would?
Yeah, there you go. And back then it was like we didn't have GPS on our phone or nothing, so it was like, you know, the Google Maps printouts in the car,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and that whole thing. So
Oh, that's awesome. I
Yep.
feel like Wes would do that for lots of people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're in jail. Where are you? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, Wes is always very quick to help with things. So
Yeah.
like, even like I could call him on my way out of here and be like, hey, I need your help at my house really quick. I need to be there in 5 minutes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like if I broke down anywhere, I'd probably call him
Yeah.
first.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think we've towed each other's vehicles multiple times.
Really?
He actually had to tow my old Jeep. It broke down like a mile from Joe's house
Yeah.
on my way to practice. All my music gear in it
Oh.
because like we probably hadn't. Maybe we had a show or something, so I had like all of my stuff,
Yeah.
and I broke down like at Fruitdale, like on Highway 20.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, where are you at?" And he's just like, "I'll be there in a minute," and just showed up with a tow strap and towed me all the way back to Joe's house.
Nice.
So, yep. I mean, we were going to the same place, but still, yeah.
Yeah.
That's somebody I will call if I'm in a
Well,
distress.
I thought we were gonna bash Wes the whole time, but I guess we
can't.
like him too much.
I can't.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has
Yeah.
been awesome. So,
All right.
yeah, fun times.